The United Nations is warning that millions of children in Yemen face starvation unless urgent action is taken. Nearly 10 million children do not have regular or sufficient access to safe water, sanitation or hygiene, and two-thirds of the country's 30 million people rely on food assistance programs. The UN agency UNICEF says that the number of malnourished Yemeni children could reach 2.4 million by the end of the year, a 20% increase on the current figure. That is because of the worsening coronavirus crisis and an ongoing 5-year civil war being waged by a Saudi-led military coalition and an Iranian-backed rebel group called the Houthis, a proxy war that has devastated the country's infrastructure and cost thousands of innocent lives. Here's the story of one father with a 5-year-old daughter that weighs only 8 pounds. The family has been displaced by the war and forced to relocate 3 times. The father says he does not even have 25 US cents to his name to provide food.
We were displaced to Ajar because of the war. We worked in Ajar for 1 year. Then it was bombed. We moved to Asakara. And now we have been displaced again. We have no livestock or job, nothing. Now she is in a bad condition, and our situation is much worse because of the war, coronavirus, everything. We are trapped in our houses, and we cannot afford 100 Yemeni reals for food for 1 day.
Millions of people simply don't have an income or any source of money to buy the food, and that's why the UN, having with loads of NGOs and the Red Cross been feeding 13 million people a month, has been so important. But we can only do that to the extent that we have the money. If we don't have the money, then as is the case for 4 million people who we were feeding and now not, those people are destitute. They have no income.
And joining us now on Skype from Amman, Jordan, is Juliette Touma, who's the Regional Chief of Communications for the Middle East and North Africa at UNICEF. Juliette, thank you very much for being with us. And this crisis in Yemen has been ongoing for years and years, 5 years of war between the Saudi-led coalition and the Houthi rebels backed by Iran. If things have not changed up until now, why will they change now, if it will ever happen?
Well, we always have hope, and we live on hope, hope for the sake of the children of Yemen who have suffered tremendously, especially in the 5 years. But quite frankly, I mean, they have been suffering for many, many years. The country as a whole, for someone like myself who's visited, who's seen firsthand, is devastated. And I think it is time for everyone to put their arms down, because there's obviously no one winning in this war. Everybody's losing, and the biggest loser is the kids.
The coronavirus crisis has taken practically all of the headlines in the last 3-4 months. But as far as the people in Yemen, especially the children, as you mentioned, it has only perhaps brought even more despair, as any world global interest in them perhaps was taken away due to the coronavirus. What can be done now? What can be done now differently that has not been done up until now?
So COVID-19 has definitely made things far, far worse for the kids in Yemen, but also across the region. I mean, in places like Syria, like Libya, like Sudan, the state of Palestine, you know, places who have been going through conflict for years on end. COVID made it far worse for children. And this is why we're extremely grateful for you, because you have given us the space to talk about children and the impact of wars in addition to COVID-19. And I think, you know, what can be done right now is to continue to send assistance. We have a huge funding gap in Yemen, and if we don't get the funding we need, we are at a risk of stopping a lot of the programs that we do, including in malnutrition, which will mean at the end of the day, many more children are going to die, totally unnecessary.
When you speak of funding, where does that funding come from? It comes from nations, it comes from NGOs, from organizations. Where is the money coming from? And has this flow of money been hurt due to the economic crisis that came along with the corona crisis?
It's an excellent question. Look, we are a United Nations agency that helps and assists children around the world, including in Yemen and also across the Middle East and North Africa. And our funding normally comes primarily from member states, so countries who give us funding to be able to undertake critical assistance and programs, especially in health and nutrition, right? But we also have individuals, we have foundations, philanthropists, we have the civil society who give funding to UNICEF so that we're able to reach children with assistance. I think right now it is premature to say how much the damage that has been done because of COVID-19 to the economies globally, how much is this going to impact our work? What we do know right now for sure is we have a very big funding gap in Yemen. And if we don't get the funding we are going to actually come and stop our programs in Yemen. In Yemen, there are 13 million kids who need assistance. Imagine where you are, every single child is in need of assistance. So it's truly life-saving.
So let's hope this call makes its way around the world. Someone hears this and maybe someone will be able to help with this gap. Juliette Touma joining us from Amman, Jordan, Regional Chief of Communications at UNICEF. Thank you very much.